in a relationship, it happens sometimes that we feel like we are dealing in non negotiable terms. And on top of it, we are not able to communicate clearly about something with the person that we are in a relationship with. Most of the time, we fear the reactions that we would possibly receive after having that particular conversation, and even feel tornadoes in our stomachs about discussing the whole matter. But it's not supposed to be that way. Mainly, some difficult but essential conversations are a part of life, and honestly should be had more often. While it's obvious that nobody looks forward to having a difficult conversation by choice, but you don't have to, I mean, but you don't have any other options. It could be with a terrible colleague at your workplace, or maybe if it's about your personal relationships, it could be with your partner or someone in your family or your friends or anybody else. For example, I have experienced in some of my past relationships where a tough conversation needed to be had with my partner and it never happened, due to which our relationship led to so much toxicity and wasted efforts. So, for now, let's just try to figure out what could be the best possible ways to deal with having a difficult conversation. So, just to get just to get a few more insights on this, I had a talk with my dad and asked him if he had to have any sort of difficult conversation with my mom about some issue and how did he deal with it. And meanwhile, sharing his own experiences, he shared with me a very simple yet effective way that one should take while discussing something where you and the other party have different opinion on a certain matter. That one piece of advice is you should not stress to explain your point too much. So, looking at myself in the past, whenever I had some tough conversations to make, I used to always have an outline of all the things I would say and all the counter arguments that I would possibly make, and all of that like a written script. But after that insightful talk with my dad, I have realized that all this while I was leading with a completely wrong approach. The first thing that I've learned is to listen, and it's far more important to observe. The more you listen, the more likely it is that they will listen to you in return. And the second thing that I've learned is asking fair questions. Asking fair questions in a difficult conversation gives you an opportunity to listen to what they have to say about some certain thing. So keep this thing in mind. Stop thinking of the next statement that you are going to make. Instead, ask them some fair questions just to show them that you are really interested in knowing the story at their end as well. And here's a very fun thing that I would like to share with you all. So I recently experimented with this in a tough conversation that I had to have. I simply kept aside all the statements and arguments that I wanted to make and focused on asking questions and curiously listening to their response. And with a surprising response, I found the other party was much more willing to listen right back to me as well. So, just by putting my dad's advice into practice, I'm totally certain the conversation that I was really fearing to have from about a long time, and I finally had it without much stress, and also everything just led to a better outcome, which I can't share. So, it's personal. Basically, out of my own experience, here's a quick tip. Just don't initiate the conversation with a bunch full of explanations. I used to mostly fall into this common trap where I was making too much effort to explain. The problem with explaining too much is that most commonly it is perceived as a desperate form of fighting just to prove yourself right. So, explaining would not do any favor. Instead, it'll bring some useless traction into the conversation. Well, I'm not saying that you should just be listening like an idiot all the time. It's obvious that you are wanting to explain your side of the story as well, and you also want the other party to listen. But there's this much better way of asking questions, and as you listen to their answers, it's important to show empathy and try to truly understand, not judge, alright? Just ask yourself, why are they saying this? Initially, it's going to be really tough to stop yourself from going into explaining mode, but you just need to resist. When you focus on asking yourself why the other person is saying certain things, you'll feel really good and calm. And in return, you'll receive some good response and understanding from their end as well. Most of the time, I see the opposite of this. People start escalating their volume while explaining things, and terribly, this leads to those words you wish you should not have said. And second thing is, there would be fair chances that you will miss something really important the other person was trying to say. And there's this another difficult conversation that I had in the past. Unfortunately, I lost my calm. Later on, I realized that I missed something the other person was trying to explain to me. It was something critical that it would have brought the conversation to a better conclusion a lot earlier. So this is very common that when things get heated, the speed of the conversation goes up too, and things get even worse than expected. So learning from my own experiences, I would suggest you should better be just listening and not trying to explain too much. You would better be able to hear and understand some critical elements of such a difficult conversation. And the best thing is you can slow things down. And when you slow things down, it gives the other person and yourself an opportunity to think rather than just react. But we, being such rebellious human beings, we don't have the patience to listen and not slow things down. We receive a terrible reaction and aggression at the moment, and all of this is what leads to the sort of counter reaction that symbolizes why do we fear having these conversations in life. Nowadays, whenever I have some difficult conversation to make, I mostly try to slow things down. I feel a lot calm, and it helps me to listen better, and I'm possibly better able to understand the other person and what they really want to explain. Right? Just give it a try and thank me later.